Yella Beezy walked into the courtroom for his bond hearing, and what happened next surprised everyone. He did not speak much, but when he did, it made a big impact. He looked the judge straight in the eye, said a few words, and left. It felt more like a warning than a plea. At the time, the memory of the MO3 murder was still heavy in the city, and the prosecutors were closely watching his every move. Beezy's words in court carried more weight than anyone expected. He entered the courtroom with a calm face, spoke briefly, and then walked out like it was just another day. The cameras were rolling, and reporters were busy writing down every detail, but Beezy's message in that moment was much stronger than the headlines. What he said did not match the rumors and stories people had been hearing about him. It was a powerful moment, and everyone in the courtroom knew his message would not be forgotten. A plot to murder rapper MO3 ended with his tragic death on a Dallas highway in broad daylight, and now, things have taken an unexpected turn. The man accused of being behind it just had his bond reduced. Let's take a look at how this unfolded. Gabsy, whose real name is Maris DeAndre Conway, was arrested on March 20th, 2025. Surveillance footage showed him being led through the police station, handcuffed and calm. He did not resist or show any signs of struggle. It all seemed so quiet, no drama at all. The video quickly spread online, and everyone was waiting to hear what he would say next. His lawyer, Toby Shook, spoke to TMZ and said that he felt relieved to be released. However, when it came to the murder or anything about MO3, there were no comments. It seemed like a clean way to handle the situation, but it felt a little strange, given the seriousness of the case. This is not a simple situation. Beezy was indicted by a Dallas County grand jury just 2 days before his arrest, on March 18, 2025. He is facing a charge of capital murder. The prosecutors believe that Beezy paid someone to have MO3 killed. They think it was not just a random act but a planned hit, and they are pointing the finger at Beezy. Regarding the bond, it was initially set at $2 million, a very high amount. During the bond hearing, his defense team argued that Beezy could not afford to pay that much. That is when his family stepped in to help. One important voice in the courtroom was his grandmother, Alma Jean Alexander. She told the court that if Beezy had the money, he would have been out already. She did not hesitate when asked about it, showing that she was there to support him. Beezy's bond situation took a surprising turn when his grandmother answered questions about the $2 million bond. She calmly said, "I know he does not want to be in here. If he could afford it, he would be out." That statement likely caught the judge's attention, but things became even more interesting when the prosecutors spoke up. They were not convinced by the idea that Beezy could not afford the bond. They came prepared with strong evidence. They showed bank records from 2020, which proved that Beezy had nearly $87,000 in his checking and savings accounts. They also pointed out that he drove a bulletproof Denali and had withdrawn $40,000 in cash just days after MO3's tragic death. According to prosecutor Tommy Adams, a witness would testify that Beezy helped pay for the hit. The prosecutor said the financial records matched up with the witness's story. The defense did not back down. They argued that there was no solid evidence, no texts, no direct messages, or anything that showed Beezy paid anyone for the murder. They said the only evidence was a witness who claimed to have overheard something. The defense made sure to remind the court that there was no real proof, only the testimony of one person. Despite the defense's argument, the judge, Gracie Lewis, decided to lower Beezy's bond to $750,000. However, she made sure to show her concerns. She said that Beezy had not taken the required financial report seriously, and she worried that he might not be taking the charges seriously either. The judge then gave Beezy a clear warning: no threats, no tricky moves, and no funny business. She told him, no contact, direct or indirect, with victims or witnesses. If you or anyone on your behalf breaks this rule, there will be serious consequences. Beezy walked out of court free on bond, but the message from the judge was not just about freedom. It was a warning. The judge made it clear that Beezy was being watched closely, and one mistake could send him right back to court. The internet quickly responded. Some people tweeted that Beezy, being a rapper, could explain the $40,000 withdrawal. Others questioned the case, saying it might be based on a single witness who may or may not have been involved in the shooting. However, what caught everyone's attention was Beezy's grandmother. By refusing to share any details about his money, she said more than Beezy did in court. The bond dropped from $2 million to $750,000 in just a week left many people impressed. It looked like a smart plan, not a struggle. People quickly realized that Beezy is not worried about the case and he is far from broke. The story about him being broke did not add up, especially with the bulletproof car and the money he clearly had. Beezy might be in trouble, but he is handling things carefully, and many believe he could win this battle. Beezy's bond situation really had people talking. Even though he had a lot of money, including $40,000 he withdrew just days after Mo3's murder, his lawyer argued that he couldn't afford the $2 million bond. Many people online didn't believe that, and some even thought he should leave the country. They felt that something was not right about the whole situation. The charges were very serious, and getting a bond didn't mean that Beezy was free for good. It made people question if there was a double standard at play. For example, rapper Tory Lanez couldn't get a bond for a case that didn't involve a death, but Beezy, who was facing murder for higher charges, had his bond reduced. In court, the judge explained that one reason she lowered the bond was because there was not enough evidence yet. There were no text messages, no money trails, just one witness who claimed to have overheard something. This lack of solid proof gave Beezy a chance to be released for now. Then, rumors started spreading. People began wondering if Big U helped Beezy. Big U is known for helping rappers with legal issues and making things happen in the music world. Some thought that if Beezy needed help, Big U could be the one to step in and make it happen quickly. Beezy's silence made people wonder even more. When his bond was posted, many believed there had to be more to the situation than just money. It seemed like Beezy might be using leverage to get what he wanted. But just days before all of this, another man, Mo3, had been killed on a Dallas freeway. There was a video of Beezy and Mo3 together in the studio, laughing and working as if they were friends. This made people question what had really happened between them. Then came the footage of Mo3 on the freeway. The video shows Mo3 stopping his car in the middle of traffic, running through cars to escape. A man was chasing him with a gun. Moments later, Mo3 was shot and killed right there in broad daylight. People are still confused about why Mo3 stopped his car. Some believe his tire was shot out, while others think he panicked when he heard gunshots. Whatever the reason, it did not seem random. The way it happened seemed planned. The man who the police believe pulled the trigger is Quan Dantrell White. He is already serving time for a federal gun charge, but now he is also accused of killing Mo3. White, however, says he is innocent. From his jail cell, he did an interview, saying they got the wrong man. But the phone data tells a different story. The data shows that Beezy and White were in contact all day, both the day before and the day of the murder. They were also near the places where Mo3 had stayed the night before and where the murder took place. This has led many to believe that Beezy may have been involved in something much bigger than anyone first thought. The place where Mo3 was killed has become an important point in the case. Prosecutors now say this was not just a street fight, but something much more planned out. They believe Beezy played a role in arranging the murder, making calls, and even paying money to make it happen. What makes this even more surprising is that the person who pulled the trigger might now be working with the authorities. He could be the key witness, and the evidence is starting to connect Beezy to the crime. The calls, the money, and even the phone records seem to point in his direction. But then a new story came up that no one expected, and it involved a woman. According to the Shade Room, Mo3 had been at a woman's house that morning. After he left, he felt like something was wrong. He noticed that someone was following him. He quickly went into a gas station, but the car behind him stayed there. That is when Mo3 realized something bad was going to happen. He got back on the highway, trying to escape, but during the chase, he crashed. After that, he tried to run, but he did not make it. TMZ added more details, saying MO3 was trying to get away before he was shot in the back of the head in broad daylight on a busy freeway. This did not feel like random violence. It seemed like it was planned. The police never said who the woman was that MO3 visited, but many fans on social media started to connect the dots. Some thought she might have links to Beezy's group. It was never confirmed, but the silence made people think even more. They started creating their own version of what happened. Then Beezy spoke in an interview. He did not say much, but his words were careful and calm. He told the interviewer, "Stop attaching me to all that because it has nothing to do with me." He did not seem angry, but he definitely seemed prepared. After Beezy was arrested, footage showed him being taken into custody. He was calm, looking around, almost as if he was trying to understand the situation. Fans and reporters asked for comments, but no one spoke. The district attorney's office just said they do not comment on cases that are still ongoing. Now that Beezy was arrested and the video was out, people went back to the question that had been there from the beginning. How did this all start? This did not happen suddenly. It was not just one post or one diss track. It had been building for a long time. Both MO3 and Beezy came from the same area, Oak Cliff. In Dallas, being from Oak Cliff means something. It means you are either respected or tested. Things started getting worse in 2017 when comedian Roy Lee, who was close to MO3, publicly criticized Beezy. Roy Lee made it clear he was not on Beezy's side. A year later, Roy Lee was shot in a parking lot. He fought for his life for weeks, but passed away from his injuries. The very next day, Beezy was in a drive-by shooting in Louisville. He survived, but it felt like a response to Roy Lee's death. MO3 answered with music in 2019, making it clear how he felt. He blamed Beezy for Roy Lee's death and even said there was a bounty on Beezy's head. One tweet said it all, saying the feud between MO3 and Beezy became deadly after Beezy avoided a fight with MO3's friend, Roy Lee. Roy Lee's death seemed to set off a chain of violent events. However, the charge was dropped in June 2022, but people still remembered the arrest, not the fact that it had been dismissed. In July 2024, Beezy made headlines again, but this time, it was not an arrest, it was a lawsuit. 4 men filed a lawsuit in Harris County, saying they were invited to a VIP event at a Chris Brown show in Fort Worth. They claimed things turned ugly, and they were jumped by Chris Brown's crew and Beezy. The men said Beezy was involved, but Beezy's lawyer denied it. The lawyer told the Shade Room that Beezy had no part in the incident and did not understand why he was named in the lawsuit. Even with the lawyer's statement, Beezy's legal problems kept piling up. When you look at all the guns, assaults, and now a murder case, you stop thinking it is just bad luck and start seeing a pattern. To understand how Beezy ended up in this situation, you have to go back before the fame, before the charges, before he became Yella Beezy. Back then, he was just Maris Conway, a kid from Oak Cliff. Life did not give him much. When he was only 12 years old, his father was shot and killed at their home on Mother's Day. That kind of pain never really goes away. It sticks with you, especially when you are young. As a kid, Conway dreamed of playing football and basketball. He hoped to go pro one day. But those dreams did not survive the tough reality of the streets. As a teenager, Conway joined a gang and started selling drugs. It was not about attention or trying to look cool. He did it to survive and feed himself when life got hard. His story was not about chasing fame, it was just about trying to live. That is how the cycle of charges, lawsuits, and street ties began. It did not happen by chance. It followed a pattern we have seen before. When you grow up around gangs, especially in places like Oak Cliff, it does not just disappear. Yella Beezy is not the only one stuck in this loop. He grew up in the streets, and he never tried to hide that. He is not the first rapper to represent that life. Snoop Dogg did it. Nipsey Hussle lived it. Blueface still talks about it. Quando Rondo ended up in prison for it. Each one of them has talked about the lifestyle. Some used it to get ahead, while others stayed stuck in it. Take Chef G, for example. He got famous with Brooklyn drill music. But behind the music, he was involved in gang activity. Prosecutors say he helped pay for gang hits and even celebrated shootings. Even though he had hits on the charts, he still ended up facing a 140-count indictment. Then there is Quando Rondo. He should have been touring, but instead, he spent 33 months in federal prison. He was caught with drugs and accused of leading gang activities with the Rolling 60s. This came after he had already avoided trouble in the past. And then there's Big U, who is not a rapper, but a powerful figure. He led the Rollin' 60s Crips in LA. He used to speak at schools and run youth programs, saying he was changing his life. But then he got caught in a RICO case. The feds said he was not just helping the community. He was running a crime operation that involved fraud, extortion, and even murder. It was compared to a mafia operation hiding behind good deeds. So, when Yella Beezy's name came up in a murder case, no one was really shocked. It is just the next part of a story we have seen too many times. Beezy's story is like many others. He started with struggle, became famous, and tried to leave the streets behind. But the streets do not let go that easily, and the past does not stay quiet. That is why Beezy's legal troubles are not just random events. First, there was the weapons charge in 2021. Then, the drug arrest. Then, the assault accusation that stayed in the news even after it was dropped. In 2024, his name was in a lawsuit connected to Chris Brown, where 4 men said Beezy helped attack them backstage. Whether the case is true or not, all these things add up. Each case became part of a bigger story. It showed how fast things change in the music world. One moment, you're on top, making hits. The next moment, you are a headline for something bad. For Beezy, that headline now says capital murder. This is a pattern seen many times before. Some rappers tied to gangs make millions, some try to help their communities, some try to walk away. But the streets do not forget. The people around you do not always grow with you. And the law is always watching, waiting for the wrong move. So when people heard that Beezy was facing life for a murder charge, they did not ask, "How did this happen?" They asked, "Who is next?" In this world, the fall is always closer than it looks. After years of tension, arrests, and now a capital murder charge, Beezy walked into court without saying a word. No apology. No reaction. Just silence. And that silence was its own message. His lawyer told TMZ that Beezy felt relieved, but that was all. When the judge spoke, Beezy stood still. His bond was lowered from $2 million to $750,000. His grandmother refused to speak about his money. That silence helped him walk free. In court, they did not argue about whether he was guilty or not. They argued about money, about access. And somehow, Beezy walked out. No statement to the press. No post on social media. No emotion in the video. Just him walking out with everything still hanging over him. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, check out the suggested content on your screen by clicking one of the cards.